welcome to today's episode of Talk and Roll with HawKNLoaD and the Captain. Today we have a friend of mine, a guy I've known for over 2 decades at this point.
Yep.
I think tells you how old I am. Randy Gaines, bass player extraordinaire. Randy, tell us about yourself.
Hey, thank you. I don't know how much you want to know. We won't get into, penis length or anything like that, but I guess we could start with, I've been playing music for, like almost 30 years now. I'm a bass player, so I'm kind of a savant. Can't play keyboards, can't play drums, can't play guitar. I'm a one-trick pony. But I've had the fortune of starting locally in a band called Decay that started from scratch with some friends and wrote a lot of music and enjoyed ourselves and started touring and came this close to making it. And it didn't. So took a brief hiatus and got back into it, playing original metal and stuff again. And then the economy tanked and I was a full-time body piercer and got an eviction notice, needed a second job. So I did the whole bass for hire thing for the first time. And it was a little weird and off-putting because I considered that being a sellout back when I was a fledgling metalhead and didn't want to play covers, but it paid the rent and it made me a more well-rounded player because I was playing genres that I may or may not have liked, but never played. And I had to do it for 3 hours a night instead of 30 minutes or an hour. So it's really helped me grow as a musician, and it's helped me meet a lot of really, really cool musicians around.
Well, I talked to another.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Was a guitar player for hire, and he had a day job, but he also had his own metal band, but he was touring with Country Act.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's what pays the most. I hate to say it.
And he said it paid all the bills, and he goes, and I'm still playing. I'm still having fun. He goes, not my music.
Right.
He goes, I still do my music. And I'm like, hey, if you're still having fun doing what you're doing. He goes, yeah. He goes, man, I'll tell you what, them country guys can party.
You ain't lying.
Yeah, dude. Those good old boys.
Yep. And I hate to say it, as far as performing goes, it seems to be one of the few genres where there's still a good demographic from like very young to very old. Whereas I'm in an Iron Maiden tribute and with a lot of great musicians. And Steve Harris is one of the reasons I started playing bass. So I'm very fortunate to be able to play his lines and try to, hold his jock. And we do really good with Aces High, but the demographic is like 40 and up. There doesn't seem to be a lot of younger cats coming out to see as much metal as I remember when I first started playing.
Let me tell you about that, because that was kind of my my mission, I guess at first. So my story is I'd made this funny Metallica video about a year ago, when Lux Eterna came out, and it fucking went crazy, and it granted me like my first 10,000 followers. And I was like, well, Metallica's not putting out a new fucking song every day, so I got to do something.
Right.
So I started doing the heavy metal history, and my demographic across all of the platforms, because I like to look at it, stretches from 18 to like 65.
Nice.
And like on YouTube, it's all pretty even. On TikTok, like that's where the kids are. Like on TikTok, there is a younger generation interested in this stuff, but there was no, like when I was growing up, VH1 was still on and you could watch like behind the music when you got home from school and shit. And that's just not around anymore. People aren't watching TV and just kind of getting this information without looking for it. And that was the idea, was to put the information out there so people can find it without looking for it. So
yeah, I think
it'll be back. It'll be back.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, because it seems like the younger generation would rather watch it on YouTube. They're still into it, they're still digging it, but they're consuming it differently. It's a bummer, from a musician standpoint, because we feed off the crowd, and there's a lot of really good bands still doing original metal, or even doing covers, but doing metal. And there's just not the turnouts that I think they deserve. But I agree with you. I think it's being consumed, they're not coming out, showing up live. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, though, is it depends on where you're at
and
everything, because I got to take Joe to see Slayer's farewell tour a couple years ago. Massive packed, jam-packed full of people. And I've been to a metal show at, McGuffey / Odd Bodies,
right?
that you would expect to have just a jam-packed full, and there's like 30 people.
Yeah, that's what I'm more referring to, man. Like
Yeah.
the local scene. Yeah.
But then I've also been to shows where, God, this has been a long time ago. I got to see you guys with Aces High at, I think, W.O. Wright's.
Okay.
And I remember that being pretty packed for there, but that place is so weirdly shaped, it could look really, really packed and not be as many people there as you'd think.
Yep. Yeah.
So
same with
still a good
Bogarts.
show, still, but it's, I don't know, it's one of the ones where.
What do you guys do for marketing? What's your marketing like now? Like how does in this world that we're living in?
Right. For like original bands, what I've seen is still kind of just DIY, do it yourself with some internet presence. Aces High, we're fortunate. We play in the Cincinnati area mostly. To touch on Paul's point, I think it is location based as far as what the turnout's usually like. If we make the shows events and don't oversaturate and play the Cincinnati market, we do really, really well with a lot of word of mouth advertising, but we do paid Facebook advertising. Like we've got a promoter that's really cool. He started off as a fan of the band, and he promotes Signs of Life, which is a local Pink Floyd tribute, and some other things. He's really good at working the net and knowing how to boost posts, I should say, stuff like that. That seems to work a lot. That and YouTube videos. We've got a website that helps, and word of mouth and playing with some other good bands helps as well. And playing the right venue helps.
Yeah, I'm pretty insulated. I'm a believe it or not, like I'm alone a lot. All of my friends I talk to through the headphones mostly, and I don't go out to places, so I don't know what scenes are like. I live in Pittsburgh. I'm sure there's a fucking metal scene I could be a part of, but I'm just not.
I played
so
the Electric Banana in the 90s. Played in Pittsburgh.
Is that in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it was. I don't know if
I've never heard of that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Original metal, we played there in a thrash band, and they gave us free hot dogs. That was about the only payment we got, but it was fun.
Nice.
But there was a scene there at a time, so I can't speak for it today, though.
Yeah, the thing is,
I'm sure it's there.
At one point, the Dayton area had a huge metal scene, and ironically enough, Piqua of all things had a huge metal scene in the 90s. Yep. And people don't understand that. They're like, Piqua was like, dude, there was like huge death metal and thrash metal scene here at one point. I mean,
and that's what's most disheartening. When it was a different era, but when Decay was doing shows, and the cool thing is, we gave Reefer Hut their first show, so and I think they took the ball and ran with it and got Piqua involved a lot.
Yeah,
but we were averaging 300 to 500 people per show. We didn't oversaturate. We played out once a month, instead of once a week. We did a lot. We rented out halls and did it ourselves, but there was a thriving scene. And by about 96, I got out of that scene, took a hiatus, didn't play for 8 years. And when I came back, it was gone. I'm not sure what happened, but it was a culture shock because the bands didn't get any worse. They were still good. It just, the following was gone.
Well, locally, I'm not blaming anybody for this. There was a lot of oversaturation with a handful of bands from the same area that just played constantly.
That'll do it.
And then you had the clubs and the bars and stuff started seeing that your hip hop and rap brought in more money at the bar, but they also brought in more issues, because I've talked to people who have had the clubs, and they're like, we made way more money with rap, but we lost customers because there was no rock and no metal and stuff like that. And then he goes, all those guys ran off everybody, and all he did was drink and cause problems. And I'm like, so is it worth losing everybody to bring in a little bit of money, a lot of money, a little bit of time? or is it to keep that, venue, rock, metal, whatever, and just keep making that money steadily? And some of them chose that easy money, that quick, fast money over, making money in the long term. And it's bit them all in the ass. I mean, all the clubs that me and you went to back in the day and everything, almost all of them are gone. I mean, literally the Mug and Jug just reopened. So
Wow.
yeah, that
Wow.
was shocking. All of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, the Mug and Jug's open. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I've seen it in all genres of music, whether you're doing originals, whether you're doing rock, metal, country, pop, whether you're doing covers of the same genres. I don't know. I miss the glory days of it. When I was being dedicated hardcore metalhead and said, fuck selling out and I'm playing originals and fuck everybody else. There were bands that still did originals, but they mixed in some covers and they could play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at one venue. And they were smart. To me, that was still selling out, but they could make money to make t-shirts and record by doing that. Some of them didn't even have to have day jobs because it was such a lucrative field, even locally, to do that. What I noticed being out of the scene, getting back into it, playing originals again, with a really good band called the Abandon Process, there was still a voracious appetite, but not as many places to play. And then when I got that eviction notice and I had to start, my second job being in a working band, it was still feasible to make a little bit, but you couldn't support yourself because there was fewer and fewer venues. And what I noticed they were doing is they got out of booking bands completely and they started booking DJs because it was cheaper. And then if they didn't DJs, they would do karaoke. If they didn't do karaoke, they turned into sports bars. That's why I'm driving to Cincinnati to gig mostly, no matter whether it's originals or covers. There's such more of a vibrant scene there than there is in the Dayton area.
Yeah. Legitimately, I am currently working on bringing rock and metal back to Piqua. This is my goal. Oh, yeah. I am doing my comic book conventions. I'm doing the shop, doing this, but I'm always trying to get more. I'm trying to find a venue to be able to run events. And every time I think I got one, it goes to shit because a lot of the guys who own bars or promoters at bars are shady as shit.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like I had this close. I had Saliva booked for Piqua. I had it in the upper floor of Z's where they had the big room, everything.
Played that.
Had it booked. And the guy that owns the bar part, I don't think he owned the building at the time, like spaced on me right in the middle. He has an event running the same day downstairs for free. And I'm like, dude, we're bringing in Saliva to Piqua. This is going to be sold out. It's going to be jam-packed full of people upstairs. And he's like, oh, I forgot, man. And then it comes back to me. The dude was coked out most of the time. So you're like, oh, okay. So this is a thing. And then you get some other promoters in the area that I won't name that has caused a lot of issues locally. That has
probably guess
a very bad taste in a lot of people's mouths in this area. And you got to make sure, and that's another thing is that because of him, and when I was doing the Z's thing, I was running it 100%. I booked the band. I got everything. I was going to be the one with the money and everything. Completely different management. But since it still had Z's in the title, so many people would not play there because the old ownership owed them money or screwed them.
Yeah. All it takes is one asshole to ruin the thing for everybody.
Yep. And go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, what's Pittsburgh like? Is there still a vibrant scene there? Or local bands?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Is I'm so not. I go to work because I have a second job. Also, I'm an electrician. This is my second job, so I do that, and then I come home and I'm HawKNLoaD. So I don't know. Right. I'm sure. I mean, I feel like it's a.
It has to be as big as
Pittsburgh like it is. I know. Yeah. I have a big Pittsburgh following. So like between, when I between like the Humane Society, my local Humane Society, the stuff I've done with them, which brought in like a good percentage of my Facebook following is local, I think because of that. But then naturally just across everything just from the history videos. And so I would imagine there's a scene. You know, I'm getting people all the time from Pittsburgh telling me to come out to their venue and stuff. I'm sure there's stuff.
Well, what seems to be like, if, just from my grasp of it, while the negatives are there may not be as many places to play. Again, the culture has shifted from rock and metal selling you hamburgers and cars to hip hop and rap selling you hamburgers and cars. There may not be as many venues to play or people out supporting them, but it's so much easier to record yourself now that I see a lot of just doing everything online and promoting it online, making YouTube videos and making other videos. So that part I think is at least keeping original metal and stuff alive and kicking.
Yeah. I tell you what, I discovered.
I got a buddy who does that with spare time.
Yep.
All from his bedroom.
Yeah, and now you can even record remotely. You don't even need to be in the same room.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild to me.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you, Randy, do you ever watch 2 Minutes to Late Night on YouTube?
No.
2 Minutes to Late Night is
I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, write it down. It's 2 Minutes to Late Night. These guys bring in different bands, like the bass player from this band, the guitar player from this band. They do Riff Raff from AC/DC, and they got Neil from Clutch.
Oh, sweet.
They do just all they got people from Baroness, they got people from War on Women, they got Cloak, they got all these bands that just play these songs, and they all play them from their house. And they're just little segment, but they put together, and it's badass. I love it.
I first started seeing that stuff during COVID, like where people would do collaborations. That was really cool. Again, me being analog as fuck, I need to get a DAW and do that stuff myself. That's fun, man. And since people aren't going out and socializing as much, it's a way to express yourself and create without leaving your own house. So, and get your music out. I just need a tutorial or something on how to do it.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. It's all black magic to me, bro.
Yeah.
Shit. I just learned Twitter this week. So
right.
Or not Twitter, TikTok this week. So
I had to buy a guitar processor because I couldn't get my Sims to like work without like so much latency that I couldn't play. It was like messing with me. So I went and bought a whole thing. Yeah, tell him, Doc.
Right. Yeah, it's still new to a lot of people, but the costs have come down enough. I hope that more people utilize it, because I think the scene's there. It's just not getting represented enough, or I'm just not digesting the right things to be able to see as much new material and new younger bands that I'm getting. I mean, the world's changed. YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff, man. It's not, nobody's going out and putting flyers and gluing them on poles in the intersection so you can see a new metal show or anything.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all TikToks now.
Yeah.
My one of my youngest cousins just played his first paid gig like a couple days ago. So I mean, yeah, that's down in South Florida.
Right.
I grew up like an hour outside of Tampa in 2005 to 2008. So that was the
death
metal everywhere.
Yeah, that was the death metal hotbed.
No, it was still banging back when I was in high school. That was it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well,
I'm sure it's still there. There's no way that just rings out and cuts off entirely. Because people are gonna want. I think people are gonna crave seeing you play the music, seeing it with their eyes. Play the music so that they can believe that you're playing the music,
right?
Because you don't know anymore.
Right, for sure.
Well, I go back to this. We lost so many clubs down in the Dayton area to play. I'm having to go literally Columbus, Cincinnati. I've been going all the way up to Detroit and over to Indianapolis to go see good music now. And I remember Dayton and I don't know, and I'm gonna to throw this. I think what killed a lot of it was the death of Hara Arena, because
Oh yeah,
there was no place to go. Then they put the Rose in, and the Rose is fine, but they're more marketing towards the, like, I guess, a older crowd for the most
right.
part. Yeah, I've
Yes, the
seen.
Doobie Brothers there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I keep forgetting. I can't remember if you're either right at my age or slightly older, Randy. I can't remember,
I'd
but
say we're close either way, man.
yeah, we're close. We're
If you
close enough
can't
that
tell,
yeah.
dinosaurs.
Oh my.
I'm
See,
33 and I'm almost dead, so you guys are fine. I'll be done. I got about a decade left, and then that's it.
Yeah, you're keeping it real. Hey, Paul,
That's what-
yep,
back to your point. I think the sad truth of it is follow the money.
yeah,
When in the 90s and in even late 90s, metal was marketable. There was like Morbid Angel on a major label. There was all these underground bands that were getting picked up by offshoots of Warner Brothers and different labels. So it was still viable. And it was still, definitely selling out clubs, but starting to pack and sell out arenas, and the big four notwithstanding. Um, and everything kind of trickles down, shit rolls downhill on a local level as
yeah,
far as metal gigs and stuff. When grunge broke, people say it killed metal. I don't know. I think it was just a change. I think
Oh, fair.
it's when rap and hip hop started being what sold you, your makeup or whatever. There was less of a demand for it, so there was, the people don't want to book it, on a, you've said that before, on a small scale and a larger scale. So even if Hara Arena was here, I don't know, because it's not pushed as much, because it's not mainstream if it ever was, but just more exposed. I don't think it would be as big even if Hara Arena was here. Like there needs to be a renaissance or a resurgence to get it back up in everybody's faces now, because
That's
what's
gonna
happening.
require big money to. It's gonna require like label reps going to small clubs, which they don't do anymore. I'm guessing. So
there
like
really isn't
now
that
they
anymore. Period. Because
you have to grow your own
yeah,
thing. So if like
you
your
can make your own
band can
album in a
grow like a
weekend.
big social, yeah. But if you can get an audience and you can build an audience online, that's where they're finding everybody. They don't have to leave anymore. It's not grinding out gigs in clubs anymore, which I think is what that's where the rock and roll is missing from the whole equation.
Well, that whole
Is I love being able to do stuff here, but
yep,
the in person element I think is what connects people.
that DIY spirit and mentality, is missing, and it needs to come back. We were real fortunate when we were young, and the band Decay I was in were writing music and trying to perform. Like no bars or clubs wanted us because we were too heavy. They were doing more mainstream rock or hair bands. So we said fuck it, and we'd rent out halls, and we made flyers at Kinko's and glued them up to telephone poles or any metal magazines that were in, Kroger or whatever local grocery store you had. We'd be shoving like little handbills in there. And very fortunate that a friend of mine that owns several tattoo shops in the area said that DIY attitude kind of inspired him for what he did, and inspired some other, like Alien Workshop and some other skate companies. I don't see that anymore as much from bands these days. Like Gorilla, you got to do it. If nobody will book you, put on your own show or rent out a hall. I mean,
Hey,
there's going to need something like that to kind of kick it in the ass.
we were cleaning and moving when we moved to this house. I found a flyer from back in the day for the Polish Country Club, and I'm sitting there going, whatever happened to running shows at the Polish Country Club?
Yeah.
That shit was the fucking killer back in the day.
The
And
only bad, I was going to say, the only bad thing about some DIY shit is, if you're smart, we would rent halls, and bands that cared would rent the halls and like totally clean them when they were done and leave it the way that they got
Mhm.
it. I went to some
Yep.
shows, man, where people were taking beer bottles and smashing the urinals, like busting the porcelain on them, pissing all over the floor, shitting all over the floor, just because they thought it was funny. That fucked it up for some of the other bands. And sometimes it was just the fans. Sometimes it was the bands themselves. So you couldn't rent out those halls anymore. I don't know if that's what happened with all of them, but
I think I would make an argument that the DIY element still exists, and it's not translating to analog. People aren't DIY trying to get you to a show. They're trying to get you to their Spotify page or
Yep.
their TikTok account. So I think that DIY element is still there, but it's not translating to shows, which
right.
I don't, not to get a tag thrown on this TikTok, right? Like we did the other, anytime you mentioned COVID, all right, they put a flag up.
Oh
But
shit.
I think lockdown. No.
No,
The
fine.
YouTube episode's fine.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
TikTok is iffy. Don't worry about TikTok.
Yeah.
But no, I think lockdown happening for a lot of these, like, for us it was like what? Like that? Because we're older and time perception's different. It was like
Right.
lockdown and everything went back to normal pretty quick, to be honest. But for these kids, they're experiencing half of their high school lives are now like they had to stay home, and I think it's gonna mess with their mentality, because it's not, even I had the internet when I was a kid, like pretty decent, 2006, 7, like the internet was around. It was
Right.
wild, but it was around. And social media like MySpace was blowing up, and people were starting to utilize it in that Dane Cook kind of way. But in bands, bands were big on it too, and that's where I was putting all my music. Like, we were trying, and
For sure.
but it just didn't. I don't think it's translating to shows, because I don't think that's where they're trying to drive the eyes. Like, they want their eyes and ears on their stuff, but I don't think they're trying to drive people to shows.
I agree.
So I would encourage younger bands to do that, like to try and get, you want to build that audience to meet them. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think you got a point, man. And I think I'm as guilty, without sounding like the old guy at the club or get off my lawn curmudgeon. I'm guilty for not seeing what is going on with the younger cats doing that stuff. I'm still kind of stuck in you book shows, you play, that's where you try out your material, then you record, after you kind of iron out all the shit, and then you do it again, wash, rinse, repeat. When it is a different medium, it's a different time. People are, I even said it, or recording at home studios or where it's at. It's more affordable, and just putting their stuff out on the internet. And I probably need to do a better job of researching that and find it and looking for it. I would just like to see the live aspect better, because that's where I get off that energy exchange between the band and the audience.
I think your generation of musicians might be key to bridging that. If you embrace, not you specifically, but just like the guys at the halfway point, the millennials and the Gen Xers who understand what's going on with the digital aspect, trying to drive people to shows, like you said, because like I don't know if either of you will understand this, but I think it's a really good example of somebody doing that at home studio music writing. But it's not metal, but Dream, he's the Minecraft YouTuber. He's the biggest thing on the planet, and he's now doing like shows. I'm seeing clips of him doing like packed shows, but he was behind not only just a camera, but like he didn't even show his face for the longest time. And now he's on a stage in front of people, and it's so unnatural. You can tell he's got no live charisma whatsoever. And you can tell he's feeling, up 10 million views on a YouTube video and 10,000 screaming chicks in front of you are not the same thing. And I think he's seeing that. You can see it on his face, and I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, it's a whole different animal. I can imagine just from my experience differently, just recording in a studio versus performing live. Studio's got its own stress, whether it's a home studio or a real studio. You know, when the red light comes on, you don't want to fuck up because then you got to start over. And if you're doing recording live with the whole band like we used to, you fuck it up, for everybody else. But then again, playing, you know, we used to play the Milwaukee Metal Fest. There'd be like 5,000 people there. You know, you gotta, I mean, that's a shit your pants moment. They don't know who you are. You're getting up and playing in front of them. And even if they do know who you are, that's you got to get used to that. That's a lot of, you just got to play and get that experience.
Yeah, they become the fifth member, you know, that
Right.
the crowd feeds. It's a whole different vibe. Like the crowd will be part of what you're doing. So you're, you know, it locks you in a way that in the studio, when you're staring at your inlays while you're playing, trying not to, you're holding your breath.
Yep.
yeah. So it's cool. It's a cool thing. I miss
Yeah,
it.
but I like that idea about bridging the gap, man. I think that might be a way to do it. And hopefully medium like this will spread that word to do that. You know, this is a good way for people to consume and digest it and figure out a collective, because one person isn't going to do it. One band isn't going to do it. One, you know, show isn't going to do it. We need to kind of build back up.
Generations.
Yep, for sure.
Well,
Yeah. I would say, sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
go ahead.
I lost it. No, I don't. It's gone.
It's gone.
You know.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
still one of the biggest bands in the world is Metallica, the metal band. You know, and you're just like, okay, there's a crowd. Okay, fucking Motley Crue has these huge fucking tours. There's still an audience there. They still are. And as much as I wanted to can hate on the whole Motley Crue thing, but it's still sold out, so I can't complain too much. I wouldn't go see it. Same way with Kiss and them on their 10-year farewell tour that they're going to do until
I'd go see Kiss.
Die on stage. I think that's what they're going to keep doing. They're going to keep going. They're like, oh, one more show.
After they die,
they're like, we're done.
Yeah, they'll just be animatronic.
It'll be AI Kiss. Yeah.
Well,
not even just a holographic Kiss. Nirvana is talking about doing fucking AI shows with Kurt Cobain.
Oh wow!
Right?
Man.
That would be wild.
We're
in a different time, dude. I'm inside the next 10 years. You're gonna be able to put a headset on and have full conversations with Jimi Hendrix. It's gonna happen, and you won't. You're like, your brain's not gonna be able to process the difference. Like Mark Zuckerberg just showed off this codec avatar for his metaverse stuff, and it's like, it looked so, it's like a photorealistic digital version of you, and like him and this podcaster were having this conversation in this metaverse room, and it was just face to face, but they're describing that it's like you're losing the uncanny valley is nearly completely gone from it. I'm telling you, in 10 years you will be able to do this as if we're in a room. There will be a virtual camera crew. It'll look like we're all in the room together, and we're not, but it'll feel that way. And then we can have Stevie Ray Vaughan come in and talk to us, and it's gonna be pretty close, dude.
I still don't know how I feel about it, man. I think for something like this, I think it's cool, but you know, this whole deep fake technology, man, that scares me. Put my tinfoil hat on for a minute, but not only that, the Dio thing that they tried to do, you know, I mean, I get it. I get where they're coming from, but I don't know, man. I'm on the fence if I'd pay to see a hologram or not. Like, I guess maybe if I didn't get to see the band, maybe I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, I know there's a lot of flack for what Pantera's doing now without Diamond Vinny. There's two sides of the coin on that, and I try to, you know, see both sides, but the hologram stuff is what I don't know, man. I just don't know how I feel about it. What about you guys?
I'm not.
I would,
but I'm an old man. So.
I'm not either. Yeah, well, no, it's not even. It's just there's I don't know. You'd have to go into a concert and needing the suspension of disbelief like you are at a movie is just kind of. I think that's going to be a much tougher sell with it being like a. Because you're gonna see Dime playing on stage, but you're gonna know it's not Dime, even though it looks like him.
Right.
But eventually it'll be there.
There'll be no interaction with the crowd, and there'll just be the pre-recorded interaction. That's what I love. I mean, I'm trying to think. The last metal show I went to was Clutch and Red Fang, and Neil comes out there and he's 5 feet away from me, and he's singing. And he points, and he's like, yeah, and interacts, and you would never have that again if you went to the hologram. Right. That hologram's got to stay in that one spot. There's cool shit like.
But could you get so immersed that you forget that? Like, can the show be extravagant and done well enough that you can't help but forget that what you're seeing is not real? Like, if I could go to an 88 Metallica show and it'll look like an 88 Metallica show, I'll know it's not them, but it'll look like them. Once we get into I'll know it's a hologram, but you wouldn't be able to tell from where you're standing, kind of technology. And I was like, I would go see that. I'd pay to go see that, because I didn't get to do that. I would love to go do that. And maybe it's not, everybody in that room, all 100,000 of us, would know that wasn't Metallica. But God damn it, if they can make it feel like Metallica, I'd try it. I'd try it out.
Yeah, I'd give it a go. But
right. I don't think you could say for sure unless you actually try it, so it's hard to say, that would suck or it would be cool unless you actually went. I think I lean on the side of like, that's going to be a tough sell, but maybe if the technology was there and that's like the only chance you got to see somebody that's passed and you never saw them before, if it's executed well, you might be able to suspend disbelief long enough to enjoy yourself, or at least just accept it for what it is.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, they did during
like you're watching a movie.
Like all the drive-ins were doing those drive-in concerts,
remote shows.
Yeah, which I think is weird, but
what one I think bad aspect of that though is going to be one of the things that makes way for the next generation of bands is the last generation of bands either fading out or breaking up or not doing it as well or being dead. And if you can go to see Cliff Burton and Master of Puppets Metallica, like, where's the room for the next set of kids who are going to make their own set of music for all of it? I think that could be a problem.
On that point, I got to humble brag a little bit. My first concert was I'm going to date myself. July 24th, 1986 at Riverbend. I saw Metallica open for Ozzy. Metallica was on the Master of Puppets tour, and it was several months before Cliff died. That was another reason I started playing bass. Besides Steve Harris, Cliff Burton was my next biggest influence. And watching them live is what said, oh yeah, I got to do that. Like, Cliff is just a beast.
Yeah, he was.
That tour is legendary. Like, not even because of how it ended, but like Metallica backstage would they were so geeked to be playing with Ozzy that because everybody in Metallica's big Black Sabbath fan, so they'd bang Black Sabbath before the shows, and Ozzy thought they were picking on him, like making fun of him, so it was like pissing him off, but they were like super geeked to be playing with Ozzy Osbourne, which is why they were playing it. They had to like clarify with his assistant. Ozzy was pissed that they were playing Sabbath tunes because they thought they were messing with him.
Oh, wow.
No, we love you.
Yeah, I didn't know. That's a cool factoid.
Yeah, that's a crazy tour.
That's like we talked with the kids in our first episode. Touring with playing with Doyle from the Misfits. That would fuck it. Just a couple kids out of Wilmington, Ohio, playing up in Detroit with Doyle. I'm like, that's a guy. Yeah,
man.
So
that's what it's about.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like to know what the scenes are like in the big cities across the country. I don't know, but if you're in it or around it or you attend it and anything, like, let me know so I can maybe get a gauge on where we're at. Is heavy metal just back in the underground, or is it dying? I don't think it could ever really go away. I don't think any other genre of music connects with you emotionally like heavy metal does. It just doesn't.
Yeah. Gene Simmons been predicting the demise of heavy metal for a long time, and you hit the nail on the head there. For me, having a fucked up childhood and not really fitting in, being a black sheep everywhere that I went, metal was like, come here, you disenfranchised youth. We'll be your family. And it really did. I mean, I love all kinds of music. I love lots of genres, from, Motown to Tchaikovsky to Cannibal Corpse. Metal, nothing felt like a community to me like metal.
100%.
Family for sure.
And that's, and I joke around, my kids all love metal. Tina, me and Tina have been in the metal forever. And, I tell people that her senior prom, instead of going to her senior prom, we went and seen Slayer. So
sweet. Oh yeah.
A lot of guys wouldn't be allowed to do that because their girlfriends would be like, no, we're going to the prom. And I was like, I got tickets to Slayer. And she's like, okay, let's go.
Hell yeah, man. That's a keeper.
Yep. 30 years. And matter of fact, in a couple of days, it'll be 30 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Happy
The
early.
13th of October. So
nice. 13. Yep. That's a metal anniversary if I ever. October.
That is
13th.
a pretty metal anniversary.
Yeah, we
How many Friday the 13th anniversaries have you had? Probably a bunch, right?
Yeah, a few. Yeah. We but that's when we got together in
Next
March.
Friday is Friday
We've been
the
married
13th.
for 25 years. So and she puts up with my shit regularly.
Oh yeah, man.
And we talk about these metal and stuff like that. Tina became a fan of Ice Nine Kills.
Right.
I'm okay with them. They're all right. But I went to Horror Hound earlier this year. So I went to the March. I cannot remember his name. The lead singer of Ice Nine Kills had nearly the entire event had a 3-hour line to get autographed.
Wow.
But Scott and Frankie from Anthrax, you could walk right up to. And
oh man,
I got to walk up, talk to him. I mean, I talked to Joey years ago, but same way but then you go next to those guys and you had to the left you had Jack Osbourne, and to the right you had Twisted. And they had to put the dude from Ice Nine Kills in the big room because he had so many people standing.
Wow. I mean, it just shows you it's different. Times are changing. But the good point about it is you didn't have to wait a long line to talk to Frank. And
yeah, dude, that's awesome. We'll talk to Scott Ian.
I'll talk to Scott. Then he probably weren't pressured for time. Frankie's the reason I picked up a bass. So.
Yep. Oh, he's so underrated, man.
Oh,
I mean, if you just listen to how fast his right hand is on Among the Living, I mean, I got to see one of his clinics maybe 8 to 10 years ago, somewhere between the 5 and 10 years. And he was so humble and just a really underrated bass player, just killer technician.
Oh yeah. I walked up to him and I told him, I was like, you're the reason I started playing bass. And he asked me, he goes, do you still play bass? I was like, I can't anymore. He goes, why can't you? I was like, I can't feel these two fingers anymore. That's when you can't. So if you got nerve damage, it sucks. So
bummer, man. And it's hard to play that.
Bro.
Yep.
Like him and Greg Christian from Testament, he's underrated. Steve DiGiorgio, he's a beast. He's one of my favorite extreme metal bass players. There's a lot of Tony Choi, Roger Patterson. There's a lot of good underrated bass players because they're either buried in the mix or it's just not front page news genre anymore.
Yeah. See, and I'm gonna go out, but I think when printed media started disappearing, I think that hurt metal too, because you didn't go get your Hit Parade, or you couldn't get your Rip magazine, you couldn't go get
Metal Maniacs.
Yeah, and I think I know there's at least one that still exists, but all the shit. I remember a month you'd get a stack of magazines probably that thick of just metal. Now you might get one a month. So,
well, what needs to happen again is go back. Everything comes full circle again. When I was in an original band trying to make it, there was a lot of zines. Yep. There was a few magazines. I mean, there was Krang's been around forever, and like you said, but it was hard to get in there and get any notice unless you already had a bunch of push. Zines helped so much in the underground tape trading network. Maybe we need to do zines again for print media.
Probably, I think it's analog music. I don't know. Print media is one thing, but I think it's the lack of collection, record stores closing and everything moving to like digital. I think that's a big part of it. Is you're not just naturally accruing. If I physically had all of the albums that I have on my Spotify playlists, like I'd have a pretty beefy collection.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm tactile, man. I love liner notes, and I like cover art, and that's why I'm happy vinyl's making a come back. No matter what you think about the medium itself, I mean everything's in a big ass format, and you can have gatefolds and shit again, and metal lend itself to that. I mean, my older sister, I had a pretty, for the time, a musically diverse background, childhood. My dad played mandolin and guitar, but he liked, like, I won't even call it country and western. He liked western music and bluegrass. And my mom liked, Patsy Cline and George Jones. Then I had a sister that listened to pop, but I had a sister that listened to Van Halen and Kiss. And I opened Kiss Alive 2 and saw that big, huge gatefold. And I was like, man, that is metal as fuck. That's what I want to do.
See,
and
that's
I think
just it. You can't get, you get that little picture. That is cool.
Yep.
If you get your little picture on your phone while you're listening to stuff, that's not cool.
Dude,
well,
like, that's how people were that's how people find new bands to get into too, roaming through the vinyl.
Oh yeah.
Trying to find out a cool cover.
Yeah,
people don't do that anymore.
I just scored this. The cool thing here in the Dayton area, there's a new like underground extreme metal, death metal, black metal, thrash metal record store called Catacomb Records. Have you been there yet, Paul?
No, everybody keeps telling me I need to get down there, but I don't get to Dayton that often.
I know, man. Yeah, and I'm not as close to it as I used to be, but it's worth a visit, man. They got everything that you fucking want, and they're, it's a mom and pop. They do it for the love of it, and they support it, and that kind of shit. I think that's going to help local bands and stuff too. It would really be cool. I should talk to them about getting bands to do, like, play on their store if there's enough room. That might be like a hit,
Yeah, I have a record store that just opened, like, right next to where I work. So yeah, I need to go in there. I haven't been in there yet, but it's it's like a hole in the wall next to an AutoZone, so it's pretty cool.
Those are the best ones, man.
Yep. Same with all the best clubs were always in, like, the shit ass parts of fucking town everywhere you went, man. All the cool metal dive clubs were
under the overpass. Yeah.
That's metal. If that's not metal, I don't know what is.
We had we had the Asylum was the more of the goth club, but that still had bands. Club Panama over in Springfield. Yep. We had McGuffey's. We had the Jungle up in Sydney, the Triangle over in Bradford.
Greenville, right?
Yeah. I remember there's one, and it was in a barn over in that area, because of all things, I saw Every Mother's Nightmare there in like 93. So
yeah, there was a local cat. There was a club called Rebo's, man. I don't know if you remember that, Paul.
Yeah, I know Rebo's because Tina's dad's one of his best friends is the guy that owned that.
Dave.
Yep. Dave. Yep. And that's Tina and my first date was at Rebo's.
Oh, so, nice. Yeah, it was cool to have a place that would give metal bands a chance to play, because again, a lot of established bars and stuff, they didn't want anything heavy. Places like that, far between. But there needs to be more places like that, man.
100%. That's what I want to do. That's my goal. I'm always looking for a building that maybe I could turn into a club. That I found an excellent building and it had no bathrooms. I'm like, what the? Just make everything outside.
I think bands also, or even just like home studio single artists, need to understand how, like, playing live can influence when you get back into a recording setting too.
For sure.
I think maybe some of that's missing as well, because it's you take those shows and that tour back to you in the studio, and it'll influence what you're doing. How many stories of, like, metal's biggest albums were the producer and the band trying to capture the way it sounds when they're live. Pantera, Metallica, that was the whole Black Album. That was the whole point of the Black Album.
Yep,
So
Maiden.
like,
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And I think
everybody.
it's a good way to try out material too and see what works and what doesn't before you record it. Like you can tweak and stuff here and there, shorten, edit, whatever, before you actually spend time putting it on tape or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Sure.
Bits.
Yep.
The funny thing I've noticed from the shop is when I buy collections of stuff, I usually end up with a handful of albums and stuff almost every time I buy a collection. Not necessarily the best albums or whatever, but everybody's trying to get into vinyl, so everybody has their own stuff. And also cassettes. I got a couple guys who come in and they will buy every demo, even if it's a band you have never heard of. If I have that and it's maybe not even worth anything, they will jump on it.
That's nice, man.
Yeah. And I'm like, part of me wants to go, maybe we should go back to doing the cassette CD demo things and like a little paper envelope and hand them out to people at clubs and shit.
Dude, that's the way, man. I've got a stack of 7-inches from touring and original metal bands where that's what other bands would do, and we would trade it or buy it. So buy your demos. Cassettes were where it was at because it was a lot cheaper than doing CDs back then. But
I tell you what, vinyls would work for that. People like to have vinyls, or digital storage is getting so cheap at this point. Like you could probably mass order. I don't know why him saying that, but I was like, we should get cassettes that are actually just USB drives but look like cassettes and hand those out. That'd be cool.
Put shows on there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be cool, man. Yeah, use it or lose it before it all goes away. I think that's when you use physical stuff, the more everything's in the cloud.
Oh yeah. Could you imagine, like, what's that? Oh, it's a hard drive. Just plug it in and it plays.
We're about to digitize humanity. Like I'm telling you, inside of 10 years, we're a quarter century away minimum from uploading consciousness to digital to silicone. It's happening.
That's a scary thought, man.
It's not like it's terrifying. Yeah. So let's try and, go out with a bang here, I guess. Get the shows back on the road. Come on.
I'll tell you the one thing I thought was weird that's making a comeback. The mini CD.
Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't even know that. I know cassettes were making a comeback.
I didn't know that either.
Boom. Yeah, and the thing is,
where is the mini CD making a comeback, Paul?
Right.
It's literally, this is a brand new. I've had it a little while, but this is a brand new mini CD. People are going out and buying the mini CD players on there because literally you can take and just record immediately to the disc. Nothing needed except for the player. So a lot of people are doing these, and because you could put a ton of songs on them, and it's not like, it won't disappear. It's not something that you streamed or whatever. You physically own it then.
That's crazy, dude. That was I remember when those came out. That was a short-lived fad.
Well, like 3-4 years. Maybe
yeah, super. I forgot until just now.
Right.
That mini CDs existed.
Yeah, that is legitimately my one that I own. I own one of these. I don't even own a player. I bought a album. And it was like, oh, you buy the album, it's $30. For $40, you get the album, the cassette, and the mini CD. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll spend the $40 and get all three.
Oh yeah, man. Why not? No. And I think, speaking back to how all this ties back together, what I would like to see more of, we're talking about AI going to a scary place and conscious going up to a scary place. I know, people would talk about Deicide's lyrics and Cannibal Corpse lyrics being kind of, nonsensical or, satanic or whatever. But bands that I got into, like Dark Angel and Nuclear Assault and a host of others, would write about like shit that meant something to them, injustices in the world, or, corporation control, just things that actually had merit and were foretelling the wrong path that we're going on. I don't see a lot of that in music at all anymore, no matter what the genre. It's an escape for some people. I get it, but metal would always speak truth to the masses and speak truth to power. That's what I'd like to see again. You know.
Well, I remember right around election time, I posted American Way by Sacred Reich,
Yeah.
Floating with a Bullet by Corrosion and Conformity, uh, Peace Cells by Megadeth, and I can't remember. There was like 5 songs I posted. They're all super political 80s thrash. And everybody's like, "Oh yeah, fucking these are great, man." I'm like, "Are you listening to the lyrics, man? This is why I'm playing them at this moment in time."
It's like
And
people are mad at Tom Morello for being woke. And I'm like, his from Rage Against the Machine. What are you talking about?
yeah,
Right.
People, I think some of it went over a lot of people's heads.
Yeah, some people obviously, and I respect it, man. Trying to see both sides of the coin. Some people just want to escape. You know, they want their music to be, even if it's heavy, they want it to be fantasy or nothing topical. You know, and no matter which side.
But it's iffy nowadays. I know I stay away from leaning in my writing and my videos. I can tell information without having to pick some sort of political side because I'm too dumb for all of it anyway.
that's
But
where I'm at.
it is something I think about. I imagine these bands that are even bigger. Do you want to make this? Because if you don't make the statement in the right way, it could ruin everything.
Yeah, it's
The right mob getting on you.
Yeah, the world we live in, man. Cancel culture, no matter what you're saying. What I noticed, at least back then, with like Napalm Death's first 2 albums and Dead Brain Cells, it wasn't necessarily political, like right or left. It was more like shit they saw in everyday life that was fucked up. And just speaking about what they see, what's going on in front of you. Gnostic Front, like even Biohazard, any of those bands that didn't make up gory lyrics, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. I love Suffocation, I love Cannibal Corpse, but I kind of had a different level of respect for bands that weren't preachy, weren't shoving it down your throat, but maybe enlightening people to, hey, some shit that's going on that you don't know is going on, and it's not about left or right, it's about right or wrong, or like awareness.
Well,
The
you had
moral of the
that
story is we need more songs about the reptilians. All right, get on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Hollow Earth and Reptilians. Yeah.
Oh, show.
Well, we did freaking Nuclear Assault had the whole album Handle with Care. It was all about destroying ourselves with bombs or toxic waste and all that shit like that.
Yeah.
That was getting super political, and it just got thrown into mindless thrash.
Right.
So even though
I don't think metal, punk, any aggressive forms of music ever got the credit for being as open-minded and topical as they were. They got lumped in with like, and again, I'm not judging, man. I grew up listening to Rat and Motley Crue's first couple albums, and it was just sleaze metal, man. It was about chick, fast cars, and humping and all kinds of shit. But and then you go to the extreme forms of metal, and it's about zombies and cutting people open. But somewhere in the middle was stuff that tried to teach people, like, there's a lot of shit's going on that's fucking wrong. And we're not going to fucking sugarcoat it. We're just going to put it out there.
Oh yeah, or the ones that are like, oh, that's just when Anthrax did like Who Cares, wins, and all those songs that were really kind of poignant, and they got oh, it's not fast enough or it's not heavy enough, and I'm like, dude, they're
right.
It still hits you, man. Just maybe it hits you a little different in a different way, but shit, enjoy it.
Yeah, I think unfortunately there was a lot of pressure for bands for a while to make a little more catchy songs, a little more commercial, a little more radio friendly, and some people didn't like that. So I think if it's done genuinely and people just want to broaden their horizons and not make the same album time and time and time again, I get it. But when you purposely do it like, hey, I want to make more money, hey, I want to make more I want to get more chicks to the show, whatever it is. If it's not coming from a genuine place, that's what kind of sucked. And I think true people could see through that. Like people that are really fans of the genre could tell who was just naturally evolving musically and who was like, okay, I want to make a buck, or I'm getting a lot of pressure from the A&R people, so I'm just gonna whatever they said.
The audience can read that. If you're not, if you're coming from somewhere that isn't genuine, the audience will sniff that out. And it's not even necessarily like what you say or even how you say it. Something kind of ethereal that they just pick up on.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, I think it's genuineness, man. I've always like, no matter what genre it is, if I go see a band live and I can tell that it's from the heart and they mean it and they're passionate about it, I don't care what it is. Even if I don't like the genre, I will respect that band and I will get something from that. If it's a band that's you can tell is going through the motions and doesn't really mean what they're saying, I think you pick up that subconsciously, no matter what the genre it is.
You get those bands that their music's not written by the band; it's written by other people, and they're just playing it. And there's no emotional attachment.
That's like most of Ozzy's best songs. So he didn't write.
Lemmy's,
but,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Bob Daisley wrote a lot of Ozzy shit.
I love
Daisley and Zach and Jake.
Lemmy talking about. He goes, I made more money off of 3 Ozzy songs than I did my entire career of Motorhead.
Right.
With Motorhead. Yeah. Yeah. The Metallica, when Metallica covered all those Motorhead songs for Garage Inc., he made a bunch of money from that too. He was saying he made more money from Metallica covering his songs than he had with like all of the albums Motorhead had sold that decade.
It's a trip to think about because, we were, when you first started to say a little bit about myself, I had no idea what the fuck to say. Just real quick synopsis of where I started, where I'm at. Yeah. I catch a lot of shit, and I've caught a lot of shit, and so does Decay's drummer Brian Harris about selling out. Because we play, because we're in working bands, and we don't always do all original stuff anymore. And I get it, and it makes me think of Gene Simmons again. It's like, yeah, we sell out every night. There's always this edged sword on that. I'm very fortunate that I'm not making a complete living out of it, but playing in a working band helps me buy new gear, helps me put food on the table. I'm grateful for it. I do miss doing nothing but originals, and I would love to do that again. It's just hard to find 3, 4, or 5 people that are on the same page with it. But if you go back to that writing your own song stuff, Elvis didn't write any of his own songs. So that's a trip. I just thought about that, and in the country music market, hardly any of those cats write their own songs.
No.
And I'm of two minds on it. When I'm doing originals, I want to write my own shit. It's about expression. If other people like it, cool. That's fucking great. If you don't, cool. That's great too. I'm not here to please you. I'm getting something out. But there's also something to be said for how do you sell that material. And what I mean by sell is like, how are you convincing if you didn't write it? And people like Elvis and some of the country artists over the years, you can't tell they didn't write it.
No. Well,
that's what Ozzy was best at.
Yeah. Make it your own somehow. Like
you have to have a foundation to do this thing you like, and that's just the reality of the situation. If it's like if I wasn't working my job, I wouldn't be able to do this, I would, that's just how it goes. And I think it's certainly, I would imagine it's a blessing getting to play music full time effectively, whether it's yours or working. That's a pretty cool gig. Electricians, I'm not having fun with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be writing articles for like, I don't know, daytime magazines or something. That'd be way more fun, I think, than being an electrician.
For sure, man. I think there's like the utopia for musicians that I know. It's like play good music at good venues with good people for good money. You never get all 4. You get sometimes 1, sometimes 2, and it's never the same combination. I like performing is therapy for me. So whether it's originals or covers. I think if I didn't get a chance to perform live music, I'd be in a loony bin right now. It's therapeutic to play music, whether there's 5 people there or 500.
I was just getting ready to say that. It's got to be therapeutic to be up around stage playing, getting your reps in, even if it's not your music. You're still up there playing. You're still up there making money. You're enjoying the guys you're running with. If you can get 3 out of 4, that's amazing. You know,
Right.
most people you're lucky to get 2, and
Yeah.
you know you're hitting 3. That's pretty damn good. So, but
Yeah, I'm fortunate to know cats that have only played originals and they would never ever play anybody else's music no matter what. And I respect the fuck out of that. And that was me for the longest time. But it's funny what an eviction notice will make you do, you know? But like I was saying earlier, I'm in the unique position of being able to conflate it. And I've asked other musicians that that I looked up to that had made that change. How do you do it? You know, and one of them was the drummer from my old band. I was like, dude, do you remember when we were kids and we went to McGuffey's and we saw a cover band and we both said shoot each other if we ever did this shit? I was like, you've been doing this for a while. How did you reconcile that? And he said, remember when we drove to Syracuse, New York for $20? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, isn't it better to drive down the street and make $100 doing what you love? I'm like, yeah, I guess that's one way to think about it. It's not just about the money, but it's about finding the silver lining in whatever that you're doing and finding those things. Like you're playing good music, but maybe not with good people. So you can find that and hold on to it. You're playing with good people, but maybe it's not good music. Maybe it's a good venue, but it's not good money. You know, finding that happy place, you know, is what makes it work. And it allows you to perform and still play and buy new gear. I mean, I know cats that how they buy new gear is they just, you know, play in working bands and they get
how are you supposed to, that's what I mean. Like I wouldn't have any of, how am I supposed to afford the electricity and the 2 computers I'm doing all this work?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
yeah, it's unfortunate, man, that there's you know, there's so much judgment in it. It's all music. It's all supposed to be fun. I get up as long as you're playing. I don't care what kind of music you're playing or whose it is. And I just want to see younger kids still doing it, man. There's not as many bands that I see, you know, behind us. When I was first playing, there was bands to look up to. Like, I want to do what they're doing. You know, these are local guys and they're playing, you know, cool music at cool venues. How do I do that? And you know, people that are in my age group, we talk about it all the time. It's like, wow, there's not, like, everybody that's still playing is older, you know, at least in this area. That doesn't mean it's not happening. Just not in the usual spots.
Oh yeah. Well, hey Randy, we've been over an hour here. I don't want to. This leaves more for later, because that's one thing I don't want. You've got so many good stories. We need to bring you on maybe once a month or something like that. Do more.
Get the intro out of the way. You know?
Yeah.
I'd love to, man. Yeah, there's like, I didn't know what like exactly we were going to talk about or where, but yeah, there's some stories, man. I mean, just from being a musician and traveling with a lot of different projects and a lot of different styles in different parts of the U.S., but also my alter ego who's been poking holes in people since 1996 and doing piercings on people, man. It takes all walks of life. And I don't know if that would, you know, fit in this format, but man, there's some fucked up stories that you'd laugh your ass off, and I would probably embarrass the shit out of myself. But hey, whatever, man. It needs to come out.
You gotta be able to poke fun at yourself, man, because if you don't, then if somebody pokes fun at you, you get angry. If you take that from them, you're like, fuck you, I took it, it's mine.
Oh, there's no shame in my game anymore, man. Like,
we're too old to give a shit.
Yep, exactly.
Oh yeah.
I had a lot of fun, man. I want to thank you both for having me on. This was awesome.
Randy, great. Tell us where people can find you at, or if are you touring still, you upcoming gigs, anything like that. Just tell us what you got going on.
So my main gig is my Iron Maiden tribute band. It's Aces High, a bunch of stellar cats. They're all phenomenal musicians. They care about the music. just as much as they were if they wrote it themselves. Every attention to detail and nuance is in there. And I'm not, I'm a pretty humble due to the low self-esteem part. So it's not an exaggeration. They're great guys to work with and a great band. We keep it like events, so we don't play out that often. If we do, it's usually in the Cincinnati, Dayton area. No shows as of yet for the rest of this year. We're going to start with 2024, and you can find us at aceshigh.com. Check it out there. I also fill in with lots of different genres of bands, from 80s pop to funk to disco to Motown to country to hair metal, and basically that's random. So you can find me on social media, Facebook. Just check it out, and I'll usually promote when I'm playing. And also, if anybody wants a hole poked in their body, I've been doing that since 1996, almost as long as I've been playing music. I'm at a studio called Lucid Inc., and it's right next door to JD Legends. So there's a musical tie-in. JD Legends is still one cool place that allows local acts to play. They still have original, music there. They have rock and metal and country, all kinds of genres, and it's close enough to Dayton for everybody to go to. So check me out at Lucid Inc. or next door at JD Legends in Franklin, Ohio.
Yep. Nice. Great place. Weirdest venue ever. The club, the stage is the sand pit for the volleyball court.
Yep. It's fucking great. But dude, it's outdoors. Now, the cool thing is, if you haven't been there in a while, they have an indoor stage for the colder months that's almost as cool as the outdoor stage.
And your bowling alley too.
Right. Yeah. And you can go bowling. That's a trip, man. And there's another one of those. This must be a Southwest Ohio thing, because in Cincinnati, they're not even related, but there's another place to bowl and check out tunes. I don't know what that combination is, but it's a trip.
Yep. We have a bowling alley here with like a bar underneath it that does that.
That's awesome.
That has like shows and stuff.
Well, they have dual purpose band, but new owners, so I couldn't tell you if they've ever had any bands playing out there ever. So
if not, approach them, man. That might be a way to get in.
I'm gonna go talk to them maybe Thursday.
Yep.
Get this shit taken care of.
Yeah, tell them there's already a business model. Check out JD Legends, and I'll see if I can get the just personal communication. I'll find out the name of the place in the Cincinnati area. It's like off the 275 belt loop, and they're real successful at being a bowling alley and a music venue. So dual purpose, man. Double
down. Cool.
That's awesome.
So Randy, what I'll do is I'll post all your information here at the end of the episode, and this will drop Thursday at 8:00. I'll also trim little pieces up, throw them on TikTok and stuff. So we'll have a bunch of stuff you can promote and let people know. But this will drop at 8:00 Thursday. So
awesome, man. I'm honored and I'm flattered that you guys had me on here. And seriously, if it seems to work, I'm full of shit and full of stories. So we'll get
definitely.
I'm excited.
Love tour stories, man. Some of them are the best. So.
Oh man, I can tell you some. And there's one that we'll have to talk about defecating on 29th and Broadway in New York City because there's no public bathroom.
Oh,
nice.
Well, man, I'm gonna let you go. Take care. All you gotta do is where it says leave meeting on your thing, just press leave and you'll pop right out. So, all right.
It could be confusing. This Zoom confuses me. So
yeah, everybody wants me to go do a different one. But I'm like, I don't want to add a new one, man. I'm good at Zoom.
Yeah, you guys broke my cherry on this. If we end up doing this again, I'm gonna get some cool like light bulbs and shit, and get like some of the mood lighting.
Yeah,
I'm digging the green in there. That's awesome.
I got to rearrange
everything
this,
is green all the time too. It doesn't change when I turn the camera off. It stays green in this room. Dude, the outside of my house looks crazy because it's just my top bedroom window. The rest of the house is empty. Nobody's in it. The top bedroom window is just glowing green.
Nice.
Like I'm building monsters in here. It's awesome.
It ain't easy being green, man.
Nope.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, man. Well, take it easy, man. See ya.
I appreciate you. Take care. Thanks,
Rennie.
No problem, man. Bye.
Bye-bye.
siren that was